So you got guy problems, huh? Overheard you and your man on the phone. Want a little bit of a wisdom from the man side? I'll give it to you. Men are like cats, you know? Sure, we'll play with the ball of yarn unless you want us to play with the ball of yarn. Trick is, hide the ball of yarn. But don't hide it where you can't find it, you know? Hey, what's that ball of yarn doing in the fridge? Whatever. You know what I'm saying. We watch Taxi Driver and Taxi.
Yay! Thank you so much, Sean. I really don't know why we do a podcast after your intros.
We could just
that's what I keep
show.
saying. We should just do a clip show of Sean's wacky intros.
Well, eventually we'll put that together. We'll do some compilation videos of just all of the intros of Sean. We'll do it at the end of the season.
Right.
We'll put that together.
Right. And I'll do a really big intro to the intros.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That it actually took me a second to figure out what you were doing there. Because I was like, wait a second, I just watched Taxi Driver and this is not in that movie.
Wait a second. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it is.
Before we go too far, let me say welcome to Citizen Kane Versus, where we compare a widely considered great movie with a movie that is considered to be more on the schlocky side. And we ask ourselves honestly, which is better? My name is Jack Rennie, and I'm joined by my friends, Mr.
Sean Jacqueline.
And
Daniel Benoit.
So good. So good. Damn. And
you made him turn into James Brown. Oh, so good.
If only we could get him on the show. He would have. I feel like he would have.
Yeah.
And so, this week, the connective tissue, as proposed by me, seems to be taxis. I mean, that was what I was going for, but did that come across? That's what makes sense.
And the people who drive them.
And the people who drive them. Yeah. The real heroes.
And just like really seethingly inherent racism.
And sexism. And really uncomfortable relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was going for. Yeah.
You nailed it, buddy.
Yeah. I really didn't. Again, I didn't realize how much Taxi would, in some surprising ways, be a spiritual successor to Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
It's
man.
Are you a completely incompetent, borderline psychotic man? Have we got a love interest for you?
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Have you met Pretty Blonde?
Have you met her? Dan, I too, Miranda brought home a nice brunch. It's Canadian Thanksgiving coming up. So we got Canadian, whatever. We got brunch. That's what I'm saying. We just wanted to enjoy.
What was in the brunch? What was in your Thanksgiving brunch?
Oh, I'm glad you asked the important questions. It was like eggs Benny on mini waffles. It's from this place called the
so festive.
Starving Artist. Anyway, but
I love that place. Sorry, Kate, go on.
Yeah, but it was whatever. But then we sat down, nice, chill, cuddly morning, and watched Taxi Driver.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not
so
a morning cuddle movie at all.
I don't know when do you watch this movie?
I watched it late last night, and I think that's the appropriate time to watch this film. Is
at
when
3 a.m.
Yeah, when you got the heroin needle sticking out of your arm.
Yeah,
and
you've just been browsing QAnon theories for 6 hours, and then you watch a video where you're I
and you haven't slept
something
in 14 days.
Yeah, I gotta do some clapping push-ups because it's the 70s and I'm the star of a movie.
Also, he does not look like he's in good enough shape to be doing those clapping push-ups. I was very impressed. He looks like he's been smoking crack for a month and a half.
Yeah,
but
he's got some muscles on him.
Yeah,
he's got some muscles.
Yeah, he did 2 or 3 in one shot. It's doable.
I can do 0. So there you go.
Ooh.
Who's the better actor?
Oh, my microphone almost fell.
Let's actually start with Taxi Driver then. So who's doing the summary of Taxi Driver?
Oh, I think that's me.
Take it away, Sean.
Yeah. Good luck, Sean.
Good luck explaining the plot of this movie.
Okay. All right. Taxi Driver is a 1976 Martin Scorsese film about
Scorsese.
Scorsese. About now all the Italians are going to be angry at us. Way to go, Jack.
No one's listening, Sean.
Sorry, Anthony.
Oh, shit. It's about Travis Bickle. He is pretty overtly sociopathic, insomniac, and also Vietnam War vet with PTSD who gets a job as a taxi driver while simultaneously falling head over heels in love with a woman who works for a presidential candidate. And then he also finds out about the child sex slavering in New York through the role that Jodie Foster plays, who was a young girl forced into the sex slavery of the city. And he gets more and more obsessed with the girl and just ridding the city of crime and the movie ends with him going on a killing spree after trying to assassinate the president of the woman who, quote unquote, spurned him. He creeps her out a lot. So is that a good enough explanation?
Yeah.
So about as good as you can give. And
he is ready to assassinate the guy, and then he's spotted and he runs off and immediately kills all of the pimps and gangsters.
Kills Harvey
associated
Keitel.
to Harvey Keitel playing Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, I have that. I wrote that down. I was like, is that fucking Tommy Wiseau?
And he kills everyone that's kind of around Jodie Foster's character.
Yeah. And then he is lauded as a hero when in fact we have seen the depravities that his mind is capable of.
Yeah.
End of movie.
End of movie. Smooth jazz baboo. End of movie.
Not quite end of movie. He also has his redemptive scene with Betsy in the cab where he's now super confident and shrugs her off and doesn't need her anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Redemptive. Yeah. Sure.
And all his hair's back and it's luscious and he's a hero.
Oh
and
my God.
Happy ending.
We got some serious it's amazing how much these movies from the 70s and I guess 70s, how similar they we've watched Saturday Night Fever and Rocky and this, and it's all movies about men who are bordering on dangerous because of their inability to interact with others, / being dangerous, being violent and in various ways.
I wouldn't say Rocky was bordering on dangerous.
Remember the knife that he had in his mattress taped to the wall in his apartment?
Yeah, but that was for self-defense, Jack.
Oh, right.
From
Sorry,
whom?
From the seedy characters in his seedy neighborhood.
In his imagination sometimes too, I think.
Well, he was punch drunk. He got punched in the face for a living.
Yeah. Also,
Guys, have some sympathy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it's these movies, and then it's about they're all made to be sort of love stories and stuff, and it's about how these men aren't we're supposed to be oh, I sympathize with you. And not that I don't have sympathy for people that are going through issues and stuff, just how these movies seemed to all be doing it a lot during this time is very interesting to me.
Yeah, although I didn't really get that Scorsese was trying to get us on board with Travis Bickle in this movie. It didn't seem to me like he was trying to paint him as a sympathetic character. We were very much trying.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Even in the end, when they're showing that he's being painted as a hero, it came more as a surprise to me, more so than anything else. So at no point in this film was I
No, you're generally put off. You're put off by him too.
Yeah.
As the watcher. Yeah.
Shall we do Taxi before the discussion begins?
Oh yeah, sure. So I don't remember anybody's character names.
Oh, I have them written down.
Okay, well no, I'm gonna write what I wrote down, then you can fill in the blanks. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna read what I wrote down. So I wrote, after crashing his squad car into a fruit stand, a bumbling, hapless oaf who has no business being a cop gets fired by his ex-girlfriend / lieutenant and has to partner with a bicycle courier turned drag racing taxi driver with a car out of Fast and the Furious to bring down a group of supermodel bank robbers in order to prove his worth and get his job back.
Correct.
Starring Jimmy Fallon and Queen Latifah.
Starring in really big quotation marks.
Yeah.
He was like an SNL darling at the time, right?
Yeah.
Was this when he was on SNL?
I think it was like one of his like leaps out of SNL.
Because
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if this was supposed to be some sort of vehicle to launch him into movie stardom.
A vehicle?
Yeah. A vehicle. Yeah. Oh,
Look at
Like Taxi?
goodbye, listeners. Okay.
Yeah. When he started doing his Cuban impression in the very first scene that we have him, I went, "Oh no, is this his like Dana Carvey movie? Is this where he just does impressions?"
Which it wasn't.
It wasn't.
It
Thank
wasn't.
God, because I would have I stopped taking notes for a solid half hour because I just gave up. But if this had been his impression movie, I would have clawed my eyes out or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I actually expected Jimmy Fallon to be 1,000 times worse than he was in this film. I thought he was kind of charming.
Oh, Daniel.
He because he's really like, it's one of those things where he's been given permission to do a bunch. And
Yep.
like Fallon was never even on SNL. He was never one of the like mainstay, like really like grounded performers. He was always there because he would kind of laugh and couldn't keep a straight face, but he was like the cutie that SNL likes to have, where like that's his thing. He's not really like a capable actor. So but that sometimes means like there were parts in this where I did genuinely laugh. Like because of stuff he was doing, genuinely laugh. And other times that I was like, oh man. And sometimes it was just because like there's a couple scenes in this that have not aged well. And also incompetence is only so funny. Like, it's just, it gets a bit frustrating. I find it very, very funny and interesting that someone saw him like scream singing like the what's the song?
What song was it?
Oh, the song he has to sing, right?
Yeah. But anyway, we'll come to this later. But he's like, he's singing like this Bee Gees song or whatever. And someone was like, give this man a late night talk show. This is the guy, no one else.
Yeah, I remember being really confused when he first took over that late night slot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have much more to say about that because he never really struck me as a funny person or having any kind of real star quality.
He just laughs easy. I think that's his appeal. Is he's like the late night. He's the guy who laughs easy. He's fun for other people. He giggles at whatever anyone does.
The word you're looking for, Jack, is unprofessional.
Tracy Morgan did an interview where he said that like Jimmy Fallon, he told Jimmy Fallon never to break character and laugh during his scenes because he thought it was just the most selfish thing you could do for the ensemble that's working so hard to make this scene work live, for you to just like break down and laugh like an idiot in the background and have all the focus go to you suddenly. That it was just, so he never did it in Tracy Morgan's scenes because Morgan told him not to.
That's so interesting, and proof that he could control it. Yeah.
I can't imagine Tracy Morgan being that serious. That's amazing,
right?
Such a goof. So, Taxi was a movie that
I'm going to quickly throw that in air quotes.
Was a movie. It was like it was a bit of a prolonged SNL sketch / fever dream /
like softcore porn.
What? Wait,
like weird softcore mid 2000s. Just like a lot of focus on models in underwear softly rubbing up against things.
That was
oh
weird.
my god.
Yeah,
that was weird.
Yeah, now that you mention it, yes.
Yeah.
Where it's like this is like it's like that 90s thing where it's like this is about like Queen Latifah. She is strong and she can like stand up for herself and like her man is like always on her heels. She's confident, but also look at these thin models with their exposed stomachs and tube tops. They rob banks, but hot.
You know what you want to see right now? You want to see the hot blonde cop get felt up by the hot blonde model, don't you?
Yeah.
Here you go for some reason.
Yep.
And then they just have cutaways of all the men ogling them and drooling.
Oh, me next.
Yeah. I hope she has to rub me down.
Yeah.
Gross. I was genuinely wondering throughout this movie who is this movie supposed to be for? Because
Yes.
Resumes, I think, mostly.
right. So because there's swearing. There's a song that just gratuitously drops the N-bomb. There's naked supermodels or almost naked. But then there are shots in this movie that are straight up out of like a Nickelodeon film.
Like
So-
the bike couriers.
Like the bike couriers or any reveal of the taxi cab in general.
Yeah.
It was
The
so cheesy.
Transformer. It's
The
like
Transformer.
Yeah, I have in my notes Queen
Ford
Latifah drives
Crown
a
Victoria.
Transformer.
yeah. The other bike couriers fucking broke me up so much though. Just like their outfits and them being like, hey, I'm on a bike, I'm in the 90s.
Yeah.
Hey, this guy's going, he took my cell phone. I'm in the 90s. It's kind of adorable.
Yeah.
It is. And it's nice to see Joey Diaz and stuff.
Yeah, that's
Patton Oswalt has that one scene where I was expecting a punchline and there was none. And I was very sad.
The punchline was he's Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, I
That
guess
was the
so.
punchline.
Yeah.
He was just like some guy then, I think.
Was it just a young actor?
Just a young, full of hopes and dreams.
Isn't younger.
I want to start from the beginning though and say this movie starts with this kind of montage of someone ripping through New York City in super dangerous ways.
Have you started
on
the
their
timer,
bike.
by the way?
Yes, I have actually this week. Yeah, I'm on it.
Good.
Someone's ripping through. They're like this intense, crazy bike career. They're going through the subways. They're going through trains. It's actually kind of fun. It's like a pretty, like you say, Dan, it's like a fun kids movie type montage. Like I imagine if I was like 9 and stuff,
Spy Kids.
I'd be like, yeah, Spy Kids. I'd be like, this is awesome. And that's where we lost our recording because Zoom apparently wasn't okay with Dan being ejected from the meeting and re-entering and continuing the recording. We lost the following. I mean, judging by what our podcasts have been, I want to say 3.5 hours that followed.
Yeah.
We lost.
There was at least 4.5 days worth of recording that we lost, I think.
Yeah,
But
Just
the
for this
good,
one episode.
it's
the
weeks
good-
later now.
the good news is, based on our metrics, we had already lost about 3/4 of our viewers. So
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
fine.
Some of our episodes, they listen all the way through. It's very weird. I don't understand it. I don't pretend to be a podcaster. I just do it for real.
It's long form media. That's our thing. That's
Yeah.
we're leaning into it.
Yeah.
This
How are you? How are you guys?
Get me or the listeners? Hey everyone.
Both. All of you. Hey, everyone. So write into citizencanevs@gmail.com.
Tell us how you're doing.
Tell us how you're doing. We want to check in on you. Make sure
Just
you're
like a
doing
good,
okay.
like good, or like been better.
Better than Jimmy Fallon in Taxi. That's for sure.
Here
Segue!
we go.
Oh, no. Get off Jimmy Fallon's back. He was so good in this movie.
I will never go on Jimmy Fallon's back.
This was a big part of what we discussed. I think again most of it was just Sean convulsing. Are you drinking the same drink that you had last time?
No,
too?
this is just a really like hoppy IPA.
Okay, I was gonna say
It
that's
is not
more,
a screwdriver.
Yeah,
It looks like you're drinking an entire cup of raw egg yolk.
That was what Jack said about my screwdriver yesterday.
yeah. Yeah, it was just Sean like trying to keep back his curse words as he described. He didn't keep them back at all as he described Jimmy Fallon's performance, or really lack thereof. Not lack thereof, his horrible mishandling of what would otherwise have been called a performance.
His poor
you-
creative choices.
He made fine creative choices. He made
made a couple.
He made
He
the
made a couple
appropriate.
out of mostly bad ones.
He
Yeah.
made the appropriate creative choices based on the material he was given.
No.
Yes.
No. I'm sorry.
Guys.
Look, no, Dan. We all have some level of acting background. There's even with the script that he had, there is no way that he couldn't have made better choices. And the fact that a bunch of it he was allowed to improvise, and that's what those were the best ones.
Do we even
that
know
they
for
gave
sure
us.
that he had that amount of freedom to improvise? Do we even know for sure?
Did you
that-
watch the blooper reels?
Yes, I loved the blooper reels,
Oh
but
my
that
God,
doesn't
they
mean
weren't funny.
I love a blooper reel. I really do. I think every movie should have it.
I
just
like
to
Toy
remind
Story's
us.
blooper reels.
That was quite funny.
You know, it's funny. When I first watched Schindler's List, when
the
the
blooper
credits
reel
were
after
rolling,
that.
yeah, I was like, "Do you know what this
Oh.
movie needs? A fucking blooper reel."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here's something that I wanted to talk about yesterday, but we didn't get to it. Does nitrous oxide, or NOS as the hip kids call it,
Damn.
does it make your voice go lower, or was that how we were supposed to be interpreting them as high?
I think it
I
actually
thought
gives you
was
erections.
The latter.
Oh, is that why dentists use it so much?
Yes.
Oh.
No. It sounds like I'm joking, but I think that it actually does. Like having nitrous oxide in your system actually allows your blood vessels to relax, and like I'm pretty sure that's what like a lot of the ED medications are based on.
Right.
Is allowing more nitrous oxide into your blood so that you can get aroused easier.
Interesting. So, yeah.
I don't know if this is the right thing. I looked it up for you.
Because if it's heavier than oxygen or normal
Yeah.
air, then it's going to make your voice lower.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. This this was telling me the wrong thing. It was like it is one of the few. It started like a quote from some website when I googled it, being like it is one of the few non-poisonous gases heavy enough to make your voice lower than normal.
Okay.
But that's not referring to nitrous oxide. That's referring to sulfur hexafluoride.
Oh, but they were sucking back NOS because they were in a garage.
Yeah, that's so like nitrous oxide is just laughing gas. It would make you laugh and then pass out. Like nitrous oxide.
So the first shot when Jimmy Fallon's voice starts getting lower, we've just seen Queen Latifah, and she turns to look at him, and he's like, what's going on? And so you're like, oh, we're Queen Latifah's perspective, and then it switches to Queen Latifah, who's also suddenly down here, and you're, oh, we're in Jimmy Fallon's perspective. But then they escape together through the door, and we see both of them in the same frame, and their voices are still really low. So it was supposed to be our perspective the whole time?
Oh, you're reading into this like a movie, like a, and no, it's not. It's just like
we're seeing a joint perspective of them both being high on laughing gas.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like putting up the binoculars to your face of this movie, and one side's Queen Latifah and one side's Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like one of those sides was pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great side.
The Jimmy Fallon
Queen
side,
Latifah.
right?
We talked about Queen. We all agreed, I think, that Queen Latifah is lovely. She's fun.
Yep.
I generally enjoy
Good
what
actress.
she does, what she did in this movie. She's a good actress, and seems like a cool. I'd like to hang out with Queen Latifah. Like she's someone that I'd actually like to like.
Yeah. She doesn't want to hang out with you, but
Yeah,
No.
I cannot imagine what that would even be like.
I want to
You
go
and
to
Queen
like, I
Latifah
want
in
to
the
go
same
to a
room.
lacrosse game with Queen Latifah, just where
Yeah.
neither of us is that comfortable.
play some squash together.
Like, see if we bond over like the weirdness of watching a professional lacrosse game.
Yeah.
That like,
Have you ever been to a professional lacrosse game?
like when I was 8, I think.
Yeah, me too. When I was really young, I went to a
Was it
Toronto
fun?
Rock game. It was pretty fun. It feels
It's
like
alright.
it feels like
violent.
you're watching amateur sports though. Even the professional league feels like you're watching.
You watch it. Next podcast, some lacrosse player is going to smash his way through your barn doors behind you and punch you in the face.
Not because of the quality of the sport. It's because of like the arena they have it in and stuff. It's just that the
Oh,
money just
gotcha.
isn't there to have it in
Yeah.
a big stadium, right?
And
Yeah.
and because like in Canada, we're like so used to like seeing hockey, which is like the stick is like below the waist and lacrosse is so much above the waist, and then they're just like running. It's just like them like running holding the stick. It just somehow looks funny after seeing hockey so much. Like it just
Yeah.
looks like that's not how you do it. When like it makes way more sense of an activity, if you know what I mean, than hockey,
Yeah.
where hockey's like, what if skates and sticks and frozen rubber and pads and a big pad, man? Like it's very elaborate.
No, we're going to take this stick with a cup on the end and we're going to throw balls at each other and hit each other really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why the goalies are so fucking huge in lacrosse too,
Yeah.
right? Like that's you want to talk about something looking funny. They look like the Michelin Man in
Yeah.
front of like a kid's hockey net.
Yeah. Because
And you know
those balls suck.
Yeah,
know
they
who-
do.
You know who doesn't play lacrosse?
You.
Who?
The
Queen
four
Latifah.
models who were the robbers in this film. They do not play lacrosse.
I mean, you don't know what Giselle gets up to.
That's true. Tom Brady probably brings her along for the workouts or something. I don't know.
No.
No.
I don't even think
Yeah.
Tom Brady's working it anymore. I think he's just like, this is as athletic as I'm going to be.
He's made $169 million in the last 3 years or something.
Yeah.
He's fine.
So Giselle Bundchen and 3 other models play objects. They're mainly objects, right?
But they outsmart everyone. So
Yeah,
at least
I would
have
say
some kind of.
they're the opposite of objects. They're intelligent bank robbers who are crazy with guns.
Their expressions are mostly like people that are very intelligent that are putting up with
Yeah.
being in a very silly movie.
It's like they're smelling a poo all the time.
Yeah, like they're in a movie. Yeah, exactly. Like in the movie, like Jimmy Fallon like tries to like commandeer a vehicle, and it leads to like a Blues Brothers-esque like pile up on the street just for one shot that like isn't funny. There's so much money in
thought it was
like
funny.
wasted cars. And stuff.
I howled at that scene. I
that
thought
was
it
one of my
so
one
funny.
of the moments I was like,
really?
good choice.
But then you have these models who are like, oh, yes, we're all yep, we're just trying to be villains here.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do we talk about in these movies?
Yeah,
There's
what else
also
did
a
we-
whole other movie. We're just talking about Taxi, but
It's true.
there's Taxi Driver.
There's Taxi
real
Driver.
comedy,
Yeah,
real genuine belly laughs.
I don't know if I can go as deep as we did yesterday.
No. Oh no, we don't. We're not going to.
No.
It's just
That's what
to
she
kind of
said.
remember what was lost in this recording. Taxi Driver. We agreed that like it is like a remarkable bit of filmmaking. Like, I less so. I was more.
Yeah, I remember you distinctly hating this movie and everything it stood for.
No, not everything. Like I agree that it
most
has like
things.
but like the story itself, I think I just kind of went on a whole tangent where I just like couldn't get over how I think this movie, in trying to explore the issue that it's trying to explore, ends up like just like putting off some really like rough messages.
Yeah, you
essentially.
said it was the most pretentious film you've ever seen.
Also probably still the most pretentious movie. Like I haven't thought of another one yet.
The most pretentious film you've ever seen in your entire life?
Oh my God. Just the fact that they would dare start it with him like driving in seedy 70s New York with like jazz swells and then a voiceover of him being like, man, they need to clean up the scum of these streets. I was like, what is this?
But have you go ahead, Sean?
I was going to say, have you seen many David Lynch films, Jack?
Or like any
maybe.
noir film ever made?
Oh, that too.
I mean, no, who watches noir films?
Blade
lot of
Runner's a noir film.
A lot of people that Drive is a noir film.
Drive is a noir film.
Well, and that's the thing. That's what Miranda said. She was like, I feel like I'm watching Drive. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, this is very similar. It's
Oh yeah,
someone in a car. It's like, it is very similar.
yeah. Someone who sees someone in need and feels a urge to like protect them out of a
Yeah.
patronly duty of some sort.
Now I
There's no
wonder.
debating that that's also a pretentious movie, but for me, this still like if you can, I'll happily be challenged on it. But from what I can remember, this is the most pretentious movie I've ever seen.
Well,
Go.
well, my challenge would come from like I wonder if you hadn't spent your entire life being exposed to the cliches and the tropes of this movie in other movies and other genres, if you'd still see this as pretentious. If this were the first movie of its kind that you had seen, do you know what I mean? And you hadn't seen that style of film parodied before or anything like that, would you still feel like it was heavy-handed and pretentious, or would you be able to see it kind of for what it was when it came out, and that was, you know, an original or unique take on a classic genre?
I mean, yeah, like semi impossible to answer. Like I don't know, and I don't know honestly how many movies are really playing off the tropes of this movie that I've seen. Like in little ways, sure, movies are borrowing from each other, but
I mean, the trope
like,
and the cliche of the driving at night with the kind of gritty monotone voiceover narration with the jazz music in the background. Like nowadays, that's very no, but not even examples of movies. But I mean, like the trope itself is something that has been referenced so many times. Like it's so prevalent. It's something you've definitely been exposed to, and something that's been made fun of quite a few times.
yeah,
You know what I
maybe.
mean?
but not as much as I think maybe you're thinking. Like, I don't like, for sure. Again, as I say, like, movies impact other movies through the years, but I don't know. I don't see a lot of things that are like borrowing too much from like this movie in particular that you couldn't also say were borrowed from previous movies. You know, it's like this,
sure. This is an
you know what I mean?
homage to the noir films that Scorsese grew up watching. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's kind of I don't know. I just think it might be a bit of a moot point. Like, and this is something that it's also like, I kind of want to debate you on, because whenever we watch these classic movies, you keep trying to push that it's like, well, you have to look at it through the lens that it was then. And it's like, but isn't the podcast that we see how they stand up now? Like,
Yes, totally. Sorry, I'm just seeing that your name on this is Noif McNoif.
That's right, knife.
no one knows what we're talking about.
No,
we make
only
our Zoom
YouTube.
names.
Only the people on YouTube.
No, they
Will
can't
even
see our
it?
names.
No, yeah.
No?
We just made our
no.
Zoom names stupid.
What was I going to say? I understand the argument of let's see how these movies hold up, but usually when I'm making the argument of looking at the movie through the lens of when it was made,
It's like story stuff.
it's like story stuff or like social issues that are handled in a particular way that you take issue with, which issues should be taken with them, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that there needs to be a bit of a balance when approaching these films, and not just does it hold up, or like, I don't know, how do I put this? There's a difference between like, could this movie be made today? And I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Someone else talk.
Yeah, and I look and yeah. Also, I just like lost you for while you were trying to think about that. My internet. I just got the thing. Your internet is unstable. So
Oh yeah.
Oh, great.
here's looking forward
Zoom
to us
doom.
losing this again. No.
Yeah, Zoom really does
We have
not want us to
we have
talk
all
about these
these backups
movies.
now.
Yeah.
They do not
Everyone's
want
got a
us
backup.
to.
Yeah. I wonder what that's about.
yeah.
Maybe they're really big taxi and taxi
Scorsese
driver.
owns stocks in Zoom.
Yeah. I would argue that
Yeah.
this is not
But,
Scorsese's
yeah.
most. This is not Scorsese's most pretentious film. This is Scorsese.
Well, I haven't seen The Irishman.
Oh my god!
Silence is Scorsese's most pretentious film.
I have not seen that because you
You-
told me not to.
You should not. I mean, I'd be curious to see it. Did you like The Irishman, Sean?
No.
Okay, so then you would hate Silence. yeah.
No. The Irishman was a 4.5 hour punch in the face.
Yeah.
Just because I liked Scorsese, and The Wolf of Wall Street. Wolf of Wall Street is the most pretentious Scorsese
Wolf of
film.
Wall Street is up
But
there
it's
too.
it's supposed
He's
to be
one
though.
of the most pretentious filmmakers. Yeah.
It's a just no, like that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Sean.
Sorry.
What?
This is
Where did that
a
come
strong
from?
beer. I apologize.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, Dan, I hear you, and I'm not saying that we should discard the time that it was made to consider it. Like, I consider those things definitely more when I'm thinking sometimes about effects and stuff. Effects, like we talked about that with Nosferatu a little bit, of like these effects, these like shitty, terrible effects that they did to like show a door opening on its own must have blown people's minds. Like, you know what I mean? And like, that's cool to think about. And you go, oh, that's neat to think about. That's interesting to consider. However, it doesn't change my modern perspective. You know what I mean? Like, I can consider it and acknowledge it, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to give it more value.
Yeah, I guess I push back on that so much because the film is always talked about as, or it sounds like you talk about the films in a way like they were problematic when they were made. Do you know what I mean? Like, this was always a problematic film. When I guess the point that I'm trying to make is like this. Yes, of course, by today's standards, a lot of the things in these movies are by no means acceptable. But we have to just understand that, you know, we have to acknowledge where and when this movie was made, and therefore kind of like look at it through not granted any kind of allowances, but just, I don't know, take into consideration its history, I guess.
Of course. Yeah, for sure. I
don't know.
I would.
I don't
still
care that
argue
much, to
that
be
the
honest,
things.
but
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I hear. It's just something that I also wanted to talk about, and we have to do. We're doing a little minisode for this, and I
Yeah.
thought it'd be interesting just to chat about because
Well,
it's been on my mind since last
Yeah.
episode, and
it's
it's
things
happened a
like
couple times.
it's things like I'd really love to cover Rosemary's Baby on this podcast and compare it to I don't know, like Baby Geniuses or something like that. But
I don't know Rosemary's Baby.
but
It's a horror movie, right?
Heard of
It's
it.
yeah, it's Roman Polanski's. It's one of Roman Polanski's masterpieces. But obviously,
Okay.
Roman Polanski is a still living sack of shit.
Totally.
So, like,
Yeah.
this is a pinnacle of cinema he's created, and he's a monster. And it's the argument that happens every time you get into a circle of artists of like, oh, isn't this, especially in Canadian theater, when you can say like, oh, isn't this play so groundbreaking and wonderful? And then you're like, no, but the playwright is a manipulative sack of crap and gets off by like holding leverage over people. But the art's still good.
Yeah, I mean, and it keeps going on. You know, we like the world still genuinely like loves the paintings of Caravaggio when he was like straight up a murderer. Like, you know, and he's one of the most revered painters of all time. Like these issues are very complicated of how you separate the people from the art,
well, and kind of
which
like
is
what we talked.
a separate conversation in a way.
Well, but in line with this conversation, I think we touched on this yesterday. The fact that also, when we're talking about looking at these movies through these movies in particular, like Taxi
Saturday Night Fever
Driver
and Rocky.
and Saturday Night Fever and Rocky, it seems like part of the point of what they're trying to hide, part of the point of them including this content in the movie is to kind of shed light on the troubling social issues of the time. It's not always handled properly, rarely is it, but it's also not. It doesn't seem like they're attempting to glorify this stuff. Oftentimes, these are stories about how fucked up this time period is.
Yeah, like
Right?
Scorsese. It comes down to the choice Scorsese made in like not one single criminal in Taxi Driver. I mentioned this yesterday. Is someone who is not black. All the criminals in this who are doing holdups, who are like screaming vulgarities on the street at people, and they're except for Harvey Keitel, I guess they're black people, and that was a choice that Scorsese made to cast those people in the roles of criminals. And he could be saying like they are from families who have not been supported by the state and therefore do not have the same opportunities that other people have. He could be saying that, but he could also be saying he did drop the N-word pretty loathsomely in the scene he cameoed in. So it's like,
Yeah,
But what other criminals were there in Taxi Driver besides the black guy that was holding up the convenience
just
store?
the like alleyway scenes when he'd show like
When he was driving
Street
by and they were
gangs.
like throwing
Yeah.
stuff at his car.
I mean, in fairness, the mafiosos that he all murdered are
Right.
Harvey Keitel as Tommy Wiseau and others, right? Like it's white people, like it's whatever.
Yeah.
I think the thing that like that is, I guess, troubling to me is that that's like talking about them all three, and we also mentioned how like we've kind of compared Rocky and Saturday Night Fever and Taxi Driver as being, you know, like we see these similarities as an era that they're like it's these men who like are struggling to interact with the world and are disenfranchised for various reasons, you could say, and how they like lash out at people and how they treat women is always usually really bad, and et cetera, et cetera. But it's and we agree that like Taxi Driver is definitely different than Rocky and Saturday Night Fever. Like you're really not supposed to like De Niro's character.
no, Travis Bickle,
Yeah, Travis Bickle. But it's one of those things where in the zeitgeist of famous leading characters, people revere still Travolta's character from Saturday Night Fever. They revere Rocky. And I think there are people who revere Travis Bickle.
for sure.
A lot of them. And that's still the issue of making these characters the protagonist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These filmmakers were all still choosing to keep these people, these men, centered, and it's in a way, which isn't a bad thing. It's asking for sympathy, right? Like it's like you're an empathy, like empathize for these people who are struggling and understand that people who are hurting others aren't doing so out of just malice. Like they're lost and they're broken and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a tricky thing with the power of media of how that influences people. And they can't take responsibility for all that. I'm not saying that, but it's,
Well, that's the thing too, is that we kind of touched on it yesterday about what responsibility does a filmmaker have to be concerned with certain disenfranchised groups latching on to these anti-heroes that they put at the forefront of their movie, right? Like
does Scorsese bear responsibility for an incel picking up a gun and going to try and kill someone because he watched Taxi Driver every day for a year?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, Sean, you said that there was a guy who tried to kill Reagan because of this
John
movie.
Hinckley Jr., He got infatuated with Jodie Foster in this film. So already he's infatuated with a 12-year-old. Mm-hmm. And he decided to go kill President Reagan because he wanted to impress her. And it didn't work. I mean, whether that's good or not is up for debate. But it is, like, he certainly was spurred on by how he reacted to this film.
Mm-hmm.
But
and
yeah,
like,
so go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, and like we also like said how like even stuff like that though, like that's more likely because that person has a difficulty differentiating reality from fiction. So like that's again, like I wouldn't put that on the filmmakers. It's just
no, I don't think movies don't make maniacs, but maniacs can use movies.
But media influences people, like
right,
like that's the thing. The stories that are told affect people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then I guess a broader question is, does that mean that we should limit or try to censor the kinds of stories that are being told or made available for public consumption? You know what I mean? Because again, like this movie isn't glorifying anything that Travis Bickle is doing. No. It isn't trying to paint De Niro's character as a hero, although society does. But that's also, like we talked about yesterday, that's kind of another commentary that Scorsese is making on how society latches on to to certain details in a story.
Well, it's kind of like how it's pretty related to how QAnon is spreading right now. How they can just use the argument that there are children in sex slavery right now, and if you dispute any of their batshit insane theories about Democrats, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden rounding up children and sending them to pizza parlors to be funneled into the multi-billionaire sex slave ring, if you question one little bit of that, then they turn it on and you say, oh, then you support children being illegally trafficked then. So, yeah.
I'm actually embarrassed to admit that I don't know what QAnon is.
Good, don't look into them. Just don't.
That's not an embarrassing thing, Dan.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Keep it out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. Great job, Dan.
Good.
Don't look them up.
No one at home look up who QAnon is, or what it is, or what it isn't.
And if you know already, I'm so sorry.
So sorry. Also, shout out to Jodie Foster. Speaking of the sex trade factor of the movie, whatever. Well, she's awesome.
I think it's worth,
even as a 12-year-old.
I think it's worth rehashing the story that we talked about yesterday in regards to her handling on set.
Oh yeah, I have that still.
Yeah, because that was really interesting and also kind of nauseating.
Yeah, it's a little blurb that she didn't really speak about it until like her time on set until she was older, and she was on the Graham Norton show, talk show in the UK.
Shout out to Graham Norton.
Graham Norton, he's fun.
He is fun. Good fun. I do like his show.
They have drinks.
Sponsor us.
Everyone dresses up. Usually, it's it's fun. Yeah. So this is what Jodie Foster said. I don't know how old she was at this time, but she seems like it was quite a bit after. So she said, no one, not even the director, knew how to approach her part. Foster was 12 at the time and played a teenage prostitute, Iris. Apparently, she's also essentially 12 in the movie. She said, I was 12 years old and had made more movies than anyone else on the film at that point, which is very funny. They were very uncomfortable about my character. Nobody knew how to direct me. Scorsese would say something like, unzip his fly, and just start laughing and not know what to do. So he would hand it over to Robert De Niro, and then Robert would tell me what to do. And he was even more Robert De Niro then, even quieter and more strange.
Woo!
Just let that,
Way to
let
go,
that
guys.
sink in for a second.
Way to go, all of you on set in 1975, 6, whenever this was made.
But also,
Six,
when did Jodie Foster start making movies?
Apparently 12 years before that. Shit, sounds like she'd been making them in utero.
Yeah. In utero, yeah.
Because
commercials.
Because I mean, was this one of Scorsese's first films?
Yeah, I think so. It wasn't his very first, but it certainly was around then. Because he's still, like you can see, he's experimenting with stuff still. He hasn't found the kind of lens that we're used to from Goodfellas and Wolf of Wall Street and Gangs of New York, The Departed. Those movies have looks that we can say, like, that's Scorsese. Whereas this, and even De Niro, we talked about this yesterday, De Niro is not playing what we're used to De Niro playing. De Niro is very different from what we're used to. So this is them really just like playing around in the format that they're choosing.
I would love to see more of that De Niro.
Totally. I mean,
yeah,
but he's so gone now. Like, he's just doing these tired
have you seen The Mission?
movies and like Dirty Grandpa and stuff.
Dirty Grandpa. He's made his money. He's having fun now. Have you seen The Mission?
Yeah.
No.
The Mission?
Oh, yeah, we got to watch The Mission. That's definitely going to be a classic.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that a De Niro movie?
Yeah, I think it might also be Scorsese. I'm probably wrong in that. But, yeah, it's De Niro.
I'm looking it up. De Niro and Jeremy Irons.
Yeah.
Directed by Roland Jaffe. Or Hoffa. Maybe Hoffa. I can't tell.
I don't know.
All right.
But anywho, so all in all, I didn't particularly enjoy Taxi Driver. If it was kind of my general summation of it, I thought it was a bit of I wrote something that it was like, what a humorless slog. Like, it's just so much. And whether you want to make that argument of like, that's exactly what Scorsese was trying to do. He was trying to make you like go crazy with the movie like him or something. I was like, I don't care for that.
He was.
He was.
No.
He was creating an experience through the perspective
Yeah.
of the
Padding the
main
runtime.
character.
No.
Yeah. So I didn't much enjoy it, but I did enjoy, like, you know, De Niro did a really quite a great performance. And there's certainly lots of great shots. Like, I had to kind of wonder at just how wild New York in the 70s must have been. Like, it seemed from the sounds of it, it was bananas. So
Yeah,
I
chaos.
understand his impulse to be like, well, let's just make that like the secondary character. Like, it's De Niro versus the city.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Whereas I had some fun, at least, watching Taxi. You know,
Well, yeah, I mean that was the main difference for me too. Is that zero fun was had when I was watching Taxi Driver.
none. Just
The movie finished and I felt like I had been punched in the stomach and had a
Yeah.
lobotomy. But
Yeah.
damn it, Sean.
But it was great.
We mean it in a bad way, I think.
I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean
I do.
I appreciate what the movie was. I
Yeah.
think that I have a feeling that he was trying to accomplish what he accomplished, in that, you know, it feels like a slog of a movie. It feels like this long, drawn out kind of fever dream, because that's what Travis Bickles is literally experiencing throughout the story, right? So, and it's supposed to be unsettling. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to make you cringe. And it did all that in spades. So I didn't have fun watching it, but I enjoyed the experience. And I can acknowledge that it was probably like a bit of a groundbreaking piece of cinema when it came out. But yeah, I had way more fun in Taxi.
There's a transforming car.
Whereas I
BMX
had
bikes.
maybe 2% fun in Taxi, and had like maybe 2% fun in Taxi Driver as well, but was mentally stimulated to a point where I didn't realize I hated myself. So, yeah.
Are you saying Taxi made you realize that you hate yourself?
Yeah, because I was just so bored and like done with the world watching Jimmy Fallon have a career that
It is tough to see sometimes. But also, when did you die inside, John? When did it happen?
Yeah, let's unpack that a little bit.
well,
Yeah.
let me just look in my notes. Let me just look
They
in my
were like-
notes
it was
here.
like they were having fun on screen, and I hated them for
No,
it.
oh, here it is. 14
You had
minutes
to
in.
clean the streets. from this.
14 minutes in, I gave up completely on this film. That's Taxi. So 14, whatever was happening. What was? Cigar. Okay, it was during Jimmy Fallon's fake. I'm
Is
a Cuban.
Cubano?
Is Cubano? Is
Yeah, cigar.
yeah. Cigar is another quote I pulled from that. So it's just after cigar that all hope faded, and I was left with the bleak realization of eternity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did again. I mostly did like really hated Fallon in this. And also it's partly just like I couldn't tell how much of it was. Again, I think he was supposed to be a bit of a like incompetent cop. And again, I said this before. I only find incompetence like only so funny. But they were clearly his choices where he would take out his gun and wave it around in people's faces all the time and pull his gun a lot. And it just looked like it was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I was like more wondering, like I wanted to still have the suspension of disbelief that like I could understand that he was like hired to be a cop at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
that was the problem. Is that
Like,
he
how
was
was this-
a complete inept fool that would have never passed a police exam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When his boss / ex-girlfriend, which I don't buy for a second actually.
No.
How could anyway?
Well,
Stupid.
were they dating, or were they just trying to imply that they had sex once?
No, they dated before. They dated just after the academy or something like that.
Okay.
And
Oh,
she
what?
got promoted, and he didn't, and they fell apart.
Because he's a boob. But then
He's a
she
boob.
fires him at one point, and I was like, yes, he is a danger to everyone around him.
Finally, they
Fire
shit can
him.
him. Was my note at that.
Doesn't
point.
matter if there are bank robberies. Like, he's going to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Or get people killed. And Queen Latifah. She's straight up dangerous in this movie.
She's a bad driver. I mean,
Yeah,
she's a really good driver, but
Really-
she's bad.
Yeah. It's supposed to be like a superhuman thing where it's like she's so good at it that she would never hurt anyone. I think, you know.
Yeah.
But like she
Well, yeah,
she like
it's-
admits that she's like, yeah, I would drive on the sidewalk too if I were her. And it's like, you would?
What?
Well,
Why
that
would
that
you
was
do that?
that was my bigger issue than Jimmy Fallon being a dick, or a dink rather, was that Queen Latifah
A boob.
had no business fucking being on the road. I talked about this yesterday. Like,
Yeah.
who? First of all, no one's going to give this woman her taxi license when her driving record is riddled with violations.
38?
72 or something like that.
Something I think it was like 17, but also
It was a lot.
It
the
was a
fact
ton.
the fact that none of them were actually in a car, they were all on bikes, is an indication that she should not be on any kind of wheeled transportation vehicle.
Yeah.
But
No
but also,
Segway.
what's that? No,
No
yeah,
Segway, no
especially no
rollerblades.
segways, no
No.
skateboards. But then
No Heelys.
they talk at length about how being a taxi driver has been her dream for like 5 years, which is also really sad.
Yeah.
But then
But she wants to go to NASCAR. NASCAR's her
she
dream.
wants to go to
dream.
NASCAR. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. She wants to go to NASCAR, but she did spend 5 years secretly souping up a taxi cab.
Like
a Ford
specifically-
Crown Victoria.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Remember the
sweet
scene
ride.
where she goes, Victoria, and Fallon tries to improv something funny, but it's garbled and no one understood it. Way to go, Jimmy.
Yep.
I think that was more the fault of Queen Latifah, if I'm being honest. But anyways, where was I talking about? Oh yeah, but also she finally gets her license, and the very first person she gets in her car, she literally drives like she's a fucking drunk asshole. Like she's ripping between cars, between lanes. She's going well over the speed limit. Her car is a literal transformer.
Yeah.
Like she preps her car for a drag race, and then gets from Times Square to the airport in what, like 6 minutes or something?
9.
In 9, yeah. Like, it makes
Which
zero
maybe
sense.
you can do if you have a complete and total disregard for human life.
Which it seems like she clearly does.
Yeah. And she's like, when she's like racing, she like, because of the circumstances, she's the one who's chasing down these bank robbers who can also drive real good. And she's more just like enjoying it and appreciating, which is like fine. You can those moments, but she's never like, oh, I want to stop. There's just like, I don't understand like what her drive is as a character, unless it's just to drive, which is like not super deep.
Shut up and drive. Yeah.
Because she does like disregard her boyfriend constantly.
Yep. And then he gets mad, and there's 9 or 10 scenes of confusion where someone could just say the obvious thing to solve the problem, but instead they do a lot of deflecting. Yeah.
Babe, listen. Just listen to me. Just say what the thing is. Don't tell them to listen. Just tell them what the thing is.
But Jack, if you could listen, if you could just listen, Jack, listen.
This movie actually like Taxi could have been like a better movie than it was. Like I didn't have a bad time. It was a nice time. We watched it like lying in bed eating chips, and you know what? That
good.
was fun. It was a fun time. There's a few like enough times that I laughed quite outright that I was like, okay, good job. And then the rest of the time it was like doing fine. I kind of would just like not take it too seriously. But
I do want to start.
But
sorry.
no, it's okay. The parts that sucked really, like it is such a mess though. Like there's enough about it that's so annoying that it's also like you can't really enjoy it.
Well, I think to solve that problem, I would like to start a grassroots Twitter campaign right now for all of our hundreds of thousands of listeners out there. If you can just like hashtag taxi and hashtag release the no Fallon cut, then I think like we have a good movie here.
If it was like just Queen Latifah and like a mannequin.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like just digitally remove him from every frame and she's talking to nothing. Way better film.
Yeah. Who is it? They get Christopher Plummer come in. You know, he's the guy who replaces people, right?
Yeah, he is.
This would be so much funnier if it was Chris Plummer. Like it should have been like a grizzled old cop who was like stuck in his ways and like, you know, turns out was actually really nervous about driving. And then Queen Latifah is like, oh, I'm going to take care of stuff. You know, like let me handle it. Like that'd have been a fun movie.
Should have been Leslie Nielsen and
Clint Eastwood.
I was just going to say Clint Eastwood.
What do you mean I can't drive?
But you're a woman. Oh, Clint.
Oh, Clint.
We're just guessing what you think.
Yeah. Well, he's a kook.
He's a friend of the show. Friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Clint. So yeah, all in all, our what would you say? We kind of thought that Taxi Driver was. It's not a fun movie, but it's definitely a movie.
It's
and
art.
a movie that movies pretty well, considering like it has characters, it has acting in it.
Yeah.
It has like cinematography in it. Like, even though, again, I'll give a shout out to Taxi again, that like the driving and stunts are done actually like quite well. Yeah. Like the whole opening silly BMX courier sequence is like, oh yeah, they were like, this is like complicated. This was okay, fun, cool, whatever. And that was all fine. But not the same as like, again, Taxi Driver had some like pretty cool, like it's hard to explain, but
Taxi Driver was a beautifully shot film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like it would work pretty well as like a silent movie if you just like watched it as like as a video essay.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I wonder what that would actually look like. I wonder if you can still get the story from that film if it was just like music and images.
I think you would. I really do think you would. Like, and I think you actually might see other things because I think so much of the movie is visual. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, I think it'd be better without the friggin' voiceovers and stuff too.
Yeah,
you know, because it's redundant. You know, because they show us seedy New York constantly, and yet they also have to tell us that he doesn't like it. It's like we get from your filmmaking that we're not supposed to like it. Don't worry, Scorsese. Okay. Yeah. And then Taxi is like, it's fun, except if you're Sean. Mm-hmm. But it's like, it's fun.
Why do you hate fun, Sean?
Yeah,
no, I don't hate fun.
What do you have against fun?
I hate bad
Fallon.
acting in my fun.
You
I
hate bad acting in your fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Queen Latifah's great. Hey, like I said,
And
I would watch.
strawberries in his cereal.
Yeah. I would watch an entire cut of Queen Latifah talking to nobody. That'd be, it might pull it ahead of Taxi Driver in my voting. Oh, you've both frozen on my screen. Are you there?
Yeah,
Are you
you're
there?
frozen.
Yeah, you're frozen on ours. We should wrap this
So-
up before Zoom tries to kill us again.
It
It'd
sounds
be
like
fun.
what-
Also, if it was Queen Latifah, just like and her, like and the taxi itself had like an AI in it, like if it was like a Knight Rider type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
that
Knight
would be
Rider.
good. That would be
Queen
fun.
Latifah stars in the Knight Rider movie adaptation.
And they
Boom.
don't sell it at all. It's just like a twist at the end. It's a twist at the very end of the movie that like the police department is like, hey, we have a special assignment for you. And like
Yeah.
they pull off and the music starts like that Knight Rider, like and like they reveal the Knight Rider car and everyone's like, wait, what? They're doing the Knight Rider universe franchise? Okay, anyway.
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Yeah. Sean's laughing. He's frozen.
Oh dear.
So
Let's never try and do one podcast in 2 parts again.
Sure.
So essentially, let's just say. So again, we did our rating system. Again, if you're not familiar, there are 5 categories: looks good, sounds good, acts good, like story good, and rewatchability, otherwise known as would I rather,
Thank you.
Or never have I ever.
or like an enjoyability. And then whichever movie wins the majority of those 5 categories is declared the Citizen Kane of the week. What? What's happening anymore? So I don't think we need to like draw it out. We can just say how it happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because so looks went to Taxi Driver.
Yes.
And rightfully so.
Yeah. Again, Taxi isn't like poorly shot.
No.
Or made. It's like it's competent in that regard.
It's shot.
I'd say.
Yeah.
It's shot and there's stunts and real practical stuff. But like Taxi Driver is like we were just talking about how it could be like a video essay if you just turned everything else off. Sounds we gave to
I think you guys gave it to Taxi
Yeah.
yeah, Sean and I gave it to Taxi.
because you were sick of the jazz stings.
Every 20 seconds.
Yeah. Whereas like there was Destiny's Child in Taxi.
Yep. Right off the get-go. So
Boom.
I was having fun for a solid 30 seconds in that film.
Okay. And then I'm pretty sure, Sean, you were really pushing in acting to give it to Fallon for
Yes.
Taxi.
Well,
right?
I made sure that point went to no. Taxi Driver took that one.
Yeah, one movie had acting.
Yeah.
The other movie didn't have acting as much. So that went to Taxi Driver.
But one movie did have models in their underwear groping other hot people in their tight pants. So
Sean,
act goes to
Giselle Bundchen
Giselle Bundchen.
for her scene of yelling in a crop top and jean shorts while shooting a gun. The Oscar goes to
Yeah.
Giselle.
He's ill.
Giselle. And then story, I think, is what clinched it, right? That went to Taxi Driver because it has a script attached to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so tough. You can Taxi. It seemed to have a lot of bits that allowed for improv, and like they didn't know. Like they wrote what, maybe 45 minutes of script, maybe.
They had the skeleton of the.
Yeah.
This movie felt a lot like it was trying to be a Will Ferrell film.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like loose structure, give the actors room to kind of
space and
play and stumble their way through a scene. But they just, they're not Will Ferrell.
It comes across like one of those newer SNL movies, like the Ghostbuster ones. Who makes those? Kevin Feige?
Oh, Feige, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Kevin Feige, like the guy from Marvel.
No, Paul Feig. Paul Feig. Paul
Feig.
Feig. Yeah.
Is the guy who does Marvel.
No.
Paul
That's Kevin
Feig.
Feige.
That's Kevin Feige. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, but we're talking about Paul Feig, who does
I think.
right, like Bridesmaids is the reason.
Bridesmaids. So good.
So good, and that one worked.
Yeah.
And then so the cinemas, the studios were like, cool, you can make some more of these because they're easy and we don't even need a full script. Cool.
Yeah.
And then they haven't been good ever since.
Mhm.
And this reads like one of those where you can see it in scenes like when Fallon gets bumped and he drops his gun in the back of her taxi while they're chasing people, and then he has to go back and he's trying to grab the gun, and we get like
His butt's in her face.
his butt is in her face as she's driving around, and then God damn it, cutting back to like him, like his hand like groping after the gun as it's moving around, and I think it cuts back and forth, like one back and forth being once, like I think it does it like 4 or 5 times, where we get like butt in her face reaching for the gun, butt in her face still reaching for the gun, butt in her face again, and like I was like, oh,
His butts are funny.
you don't know on this, and you're okay.
Is he bugging out for you too, Sean, or is that
Yeah,
just
he's
me?
bugging out for me as
Okay,
well.
Great.
You there, Jack?
Yeah, I'm here. So story, Jesus.
So rewatchability went to
So rewatchability went to
You're going again.
I
Oh,
think
no.
no.
that was Dan and I. Well, then
Yeah.
you say the end.
It was Taxi. Taxi. Rewatchability went to Taxi. Which still meant that the Citizen Kane of the Week was Taxi Driver.
Oh, he stole it.
Taxi driver.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if
Daniel
Jack
Benoit.
Yay! Taxi
Yay.
Driver.
Yeah, reluctantly given for me, but at least it wasn't. It was a good hard. It was a hard. It was well fought.
It was.
I'm
This was
amazed that it got that
competitive.
Taxi got 2 points.
Yeah,
Me too.
Like these two movies, I thought it was going to be a clean sweep. I did not expect anybody to be on board with Taxi.
yeah. I had a feeling. It would be.
It's a competitive pick, man.
It'd be neat. So great. That's kind of concludes our mini-sode. And
Which is probably still like an hour and a half.
Probably an hour and a half.
probably fucking an hour and a half. And then the picks for next week.
Oh yeah. So
Remind us once more.
so like
I
I was
actually
saying,
kind of forget.
did you really? Next week,
It's-
because I felt like we needed some levity and a dose of real humor after watching Taxi and Taxi Driver. Next week we'll be reviewing the classic comedy Airplane and the arguably even more classic action thriller Snakes on a Plane, starring Sam Jackson.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love every moment.
Yeah. I feel like this is going to be a fun week.
Yeah.
Snakes on a Plane with its original song made by Starship something, that like 17-piece band.
Oh.
What?
Something Starship or Starship. They wrote like a Snakes on a Plane like pop song, and it actually did like, it was like top 10.
That doesn't surprise me. Gangnam
But-
Style got like 2 billion views on YouTube. I mean,
Yeah.
people are dumb.
Yeah.
Wow. Have we switched places?
I think so.
Sorry, I'm still bitter about Zoom fucking up the podcast yesterday because I feel like it went really well, and now
Yeah. This one was good.
Yeah, it was
If you
fine.
think this one was better than the one you didn't listen to, email us at citizencanevs@gmail.com.
Or
And
you
also,
know,
like, email your picks if you want movie picks. Like, send it in to us because we'll look
Yeah.
at them. Maybe.
maybe.
I mean, we'll for sure look at them.
Yeah, we'll look at them.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and we'll silently ridicule you if you suggest something dumb, but only silently.
Only silently, which is the best kind of ridicule.
Yeah.
And then I think
Do we want to
think
do
we just-
Thanos teasers?
no, I don't think
No.
so.
No.
I think the funnies. It was like Thanos doing "You Looking at Me" and Thanos. What was the rough taxi thing? I don't remember.
I don't even know. It was a lot funnier yesterday. I don't know if we can-
I did my impersonation of the. Are you making fun of my automobile?
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, because
Right,
my
well,
Thanos is crammed inside a tiny car.
But what was the one for actually? What was the one for taxi? Who I riffed off of Sean's or something, right? What did you say?
Wasn't it
Do you
like
remember?
Queen Latifah dies and wakes up in
Oh,
the
yeah.
eternity pool from
Yeah.
Avengers?
Yeah, and Thanos explains to her how her whole happy ending of making it to NASCAR and like getting married and having friends was all her brain slowly shutting down after getting shot by the models.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there was also the other pitch, which was it was the post credits, and it was Fallon and Marta, and they were like in their Russian get-ups,
Oh, yeah.
and they went to like the place, and they were like being stupid in front of the doors, and they go in, and then they go
Thanos
in
is a
in the
Bond
chair.
villain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like this Bond villain,
Right.
and
And he
that,
shrugs.
he shrugs at the camera like, "But
Yeah.
I also don't know why I'm here."
But then I think that we also said that there's a shootout or something, and Thanos dies and wakes up in the infinity
pool.
pool, and Queen Latifah is standing over him.
Right. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. As like Red Skull's character.
Yeah.
And she sounds like it's still definitely Queen Latifah, but doing like a really good Hugo Weaving.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
uncanny.
Yeah, like it's uncanny, but you
Yeah.
can still tell it's Queen Latifah.
But like Hugo Weaving in The Matrix and not in Avengers.
Yeah.
Or he's like Mr. Thanos.
Yeah.
What? Well, good. We got some stupid shit. That's the whole point.
Nailed
We
it.
got there still for the Thanos teaser. This has been our Minnesota. Still an hour 15 probably, or more. But for us, that's tiny.
Oh, I think if I can just say, I think this is the episode that will be released the day before the U.S. general election. We have a lot of American viewers according to our data. So if you are an American person, may I just say, as your neighbor to the north, please go vote.
Please vote.
Please do that. We're warm from your dumpster fire right now, but we don't want to explode with you. So make conscientious choices, please.
Yay.
Woo.
Yay.
And also like work to make your own country a better place to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always leave them laughing when you say goodbye. There we go.
Nailed it.
And
Citizen Kane versus Minnesota.
Mini.